everyone, and welcome to my new video. This week's video is going to be a most anticipated reads of 2015, but it's not like new books coming out in 2015. It's going to be more like my TBR shelf that I haven't read, and like those books in the 15 I want most to actually finally get to, and some new books that I got recently as well. So, let's get started. The first book I have to share with you is The Demon Trapper's Daughter by Jana Oliver, and I started this book when I was probably in 8th grade or 7th grade, and I'm a junior right now, and I probably got a third of the way through it, and I just didn't end up finishing it, and I don't know why, but basically it's about this girl who's like the daughter of like the best demon trapper in the world, and she's trying to take over, learn the ways of being a demon trapper, and yeah, so it's pretty cool. The writing is very good, and I think there are 4 books in this series, and I didn't know that. I thought this was a standalone book. The second book I have to show you is The Iron King, which is the first book in the Iron Fae series by Julia Kagawa. I don't know why I haven't started these yet. I got the first book probably 2 or 3 years ago, and it's just been sitting on my shelf up in my bed, and I just haven't taken it down, and I've heard really good things about this, and she's a really good writer. I haven't read any of her work, but everybody says she's a good writer, so maybe I should get on this. It's basically about, she is the daughter of a fairy king, and she's like, there's this war going on, and she's like a pawn basically. So she finds out she's a princess, and life gets crazy. Next book I have to show you is Arcadia Awakens by Kai Meyer, and this book I got maybe a year ago on Book Outlet. Not a year, maybe like 6 months ago, but I've been wanting to read it a lot. I have the first and the second book, and I've been waiting for the third book to come out in English. He's a German writer, and it's a man. And basically this book is about a girl who lives in a family, and their family is basically a mafia, and they can turn into animals, and I'm really excited to start it. So let's get reading, Zoe. Or nah. The fourth book, and I'm ashamed to show you this book. I'm ashamed to show you a lot of these books, but I'm ashamed to show you this book as well. And that is The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer. And all I hear about this trilogy is amazing things, and I just recently got this book because I'm crazy. Basically, the premise of this book, if you're clueless, just as I was about 2 months ago, she wakes up with no memory, and there was this mysterious accident. So the next book I have to show you, I just recently purchased, and I haven't showed in a book haul, but I have recently purchased it, and I've been really excited about this, and it's been on my Goodreads TBR for about a year, and that is The Kingdom of Little Wounds by Suzanne Cockle, and it has won the Prince Award. So yeah, basically it's a historical fiction novel, and it's about these 2 girls who are going through struggles. One of them is a nursemaid, and one of them is a seamstress, so none of them are like in the royal part of the kingdom, but it follows those 2, and it's about like kingdom politics and stuff like that, and I really love that sort of stuff. So I'm excited to read this, and it's so pretty. The pages are colored, and it's a pretty book. Oh, and also the book spine is absolutely beautiful. Anyway, 6th book I have to show you is one I showed in my last video, and so if you watch that, you will also see it in that video. Anyway, It is Vicious by V.E. Schwab, and it is a adult fantasy book, which is, it'll be the first adult fantasy book I read if I read this one first. And basically it's about two boys who are best friends in high school or college, and during this time they are experimenting to give humans superpowers. And time jumps forward, and they both get superpowers, and now they're enemies, and it's crazy, and I can't wait to read this. The seventh book I have to show you guys is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And okay, this is another adult fantasy / historical fiction / time travel novel, and it's about this girl named Claire who lives in like present day 1950s, 1940s, and she steps through a standing stone, and she's transported back to 1740s Scotland, where she meets a man and she falls in love with him, but she's also she's married to this other man in her actual time period, so things just get complicated like that. And I can't wait to read this because Sasha from A Book Utopia raves about this book all the time, and there's a TV show, and I want to read the book before I do the TV show. So Sasha, if you ever watch this, thank you for getting me hooked eventually. The eighth book I have to show you is City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare. And this book, I still have the bookmark in, but I read 100 pages of it. And I couldn't keep reading it. I set it down and I'm like, nope, this is for another day. Not happening right now. So I've been putting it off until I had enough time to just sit down and finish it. So this one's gonna be a while before I read this baby, but I got you, Cassandra Clare. Coming for you. Ninth book I have to show you is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. And I've wanted to read this book for so long. And I just haven't. So this book, if you don't know what it's about a video game, and it's like a virtual utopia, and you go in it and you have to win the game, or if you win the game you get a fortune you get money. So, and you're like in the video game too, so it's really swag that way too. So there's that one. The 10th book I have to show you is Ignite Me by Tahereh Mafi, and this is the last installment of the Shatter Me trilogy, and I finished Unravel Me finally, and I'm so happy because spoils, I won't tell you, but one book left, you guys, and the covers are just amazing. And if you don't know the premise of the whole series, it's about a girl named Juliet, and she has the power to touch people and basically take their energy from them and kill them. The 11th book I have to show you is Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, and this is the second installment in the Throne of Glass series. I'm so excited to read this. The first book is, if you don't know the premise, is about a girl named Selena Sardothien who is summoned from, basically it's not a concentration camp, but it's like a camp where they send really bad people. And she's summoned from there to become the king's champion, and she is a trained assassin. But in the first book, she has to beat out all the other champions that the royals have brought in to try to win and become the king's champion. And basically, her winning would mean that she would get out of this camp, and she would be free after 7 years of service, I believe. So it's an interesting premise. So you should get on this. The first book was amazing. 12th book I have to show you, I also showed in a previous video, and that is Cruel Beauty by Rosamund Hodge. And it is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. And it's about a girl named Nyx, who is destined to marry, who has been raised and trained to marry this man. He's the king, and he's about 900 years old, or 1,900 years old, I can't remember which. But basically she has been trained to marry him, and when she does marry him, assassinate him and then get the kingdom's throne back. So 13th book I have to show you, I also showed you in my previous video, and that is The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson, and this is the second installment of the Mistborn trilogy. The Mistborn trilogy, if you do not know about it as well, is basically, it's a high fantasy novel, epic fantasy, following a girl named Vin and a man named Kessler, and their adventure in overthrowing the Lord Ruler of their kingdom, because he's like thousands and thousands of years old, and they had these, her and Kessler are Mistborn, which is this power of allomancy, which means you control metals with your body. You swallow metals and then you control these metals and you can do stuff with it, which is pretty interesting. So here's this one again, and the 14th book I had to show you is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, and this is an epic fantasy novel following a man named Kofthi, and he assassinates people, and he's a pretty bad guy, but it follows him. And I'm quite excited to read this because I've been recommended by the lady at the bookstore. She told me, she's like, oh my gosh, you're gonna love this book, blah blah blah, and stuff like that. And then I've had one particular friend who's been like, oh my gosh, you need to read this book because it's so good. So, The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. And the last book of my 2015 TBR most wanted reads is A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. And I've been wanting to watch the television show, but I wanted to read the book too, so I was conflicted. So I watched like the first 4 episodes of the television show, and I'm punching myself in the face right now because I have the book now and I can read it. And I'm so excited because I do love Daenerys Targaryen, and she's pretty cool. So this is the last book I want to read, and that is it. That is it for this video, and that is it for this week. I'll have a new video up next week, and be sure to tune in. Remember to rate, comment, subscribe, like, and post your comments down below. What book are you reading right now? Have a good afternoon, morning, night, evening, whenever you're watching this video, and I will see you next week. Bye! Hello, everyone. Okay. Just because everybody's like, oh my gosh, you need to read Vicious, and I'm like, okay, I'll try and get my hands on it, and I got it at Book Outlet for under $5, so